Hello everyone. As you sit here today with me, there are parts of yourself that might want to come up and be seen. And those parts maybe have been repressed because it might have been inconvenient, because when they come up, they cause uncomfortable emotions, streams of negative thoughts, panic, sadness, confusion. And so this video is here to shine a light on those parts, to not push them down, but allow them to be there and step into a compassionate space so that we can hold those parts of ourselves and bring them into our heart space. And the key to healing, the key to graceful healing, is not to repress those parts. We don't want to push them down or ignore them. We want to see them clearly, allow them to be as big as they want to be from a compassionate space. So we want to reparent those parts of ourselves that have something to say, that's maybe angry about what happened to us in the past, or angry about what's going on, or have taken on things that they've heard, things that they've seen, things that they've experienced, which they don't know how to hold space for those things. But even if there's parts that are suffering, there was always a part that was not suffering. And the part that was not suffering, the part that never suffers, is that transcendental part, which is the greatest part of who you are, the eternal part of who you are, your cosmic, eternal, still self, that has the capacity to hold all suffering, not even just your own suffering, everybody's suffering, into itself. It can absorb the suffering into itself. And so, if we are suffering, always remember there's a part of you that's not suffering. And we can connect to it through meditation, we can connect to it through stillness. It's always there. It's beyond the body. It's beyond the mind. It's beyond experiences. Yet it has the capacity to mother and to compassionately hold everything and absorb it into itself. Almost like a black hole, but a warm, cosmic, open heart space of a black hole that can absorb everything. And some of you might say, well, I don't feel that I have the capacity to connect to that cosmic space or that transcendental space when I'm de-stressing. And the reason you feel that way might be because you're identifying with the suffering. You think, I am that part of myself that's suffering. I am the storyline. I am the things I dislike about it. And the truth is, you're not that. It's an energy field that exists, but it is an energy field that can be absorbed and transmuted. And so it's just a little shift into who you truly are. If you imagine, for example, a parent who's holding a child and the child is crying, she doesn't necessarily just think, oh, I can't be bothered to hear this, I don't want to hear this, it's inconvenient, and suffocate the child. No, the mother just hears the child and comforts the child understanding that the child has big emotions and that's okay, and just holds the child. She doesn't become like the child. She doesn't scream herself or get caught up in that energy field. She holds the energy field in her arms, and the child feels safe and eventually stops crying. And so that's what we're doing with these parts of ourselves. They're crying, they want attention, they feel unsafe, they feel afraid, and they want something eternal. They want something that's never going to change. They want something compassionate that can allow them to just let loose and feel and scream and be, that they don't have to try and figure it out by themselves because they don't have the capacity to figure it out. Why did that happen? I don't know what to do. Help me. I feel I'm going to be attacked, or who's going to save me? What's going on? It can be very confusing for those parts, and it's not their job to figure it out. And then sometimes there's another part that comes, and it's not a transcendental part, but it maybe is a little bit more mature, but it's also stressing out itself. And then that part tries to comfort the other part, but it doesn't do it very successfully, and it might shame that part or get irritated or come up with its own stresses and anger and irritation. And so there's all of these parts, and these parts belong to the human personality. And it's a relief when you realize you're not human and you're not your personality. Your consciousness having the experience of that for a while, but the ability to transcend all of that realm and enter into an eternal realm enables you to have compassion for all of that stuff, compassion for it all. And when you get this, it's life-changing. That is the end of suffering. There is always suffering, but there is the end of suffering. And in order to have the end of suffering, we identify with our cosmic compassionate self. That's the end of suffering. These smaller parts do still exist. They will do. We are in a human physiology. It's going to have those parts. It's going to have a personality. It's going to have past history and trauma and things that are stored in the physiology, these little parts. But when we expand and identify and reside in the transcendental part of us, which is not even a part, it's too expanded. It doesn't have boundaries. When we shift into that space, we can then hold everything else, all of the parts, and bring them into the transcendental heart space. And for those of you who meditate and transcend when you meditate, that means you move into a fourth state of consciousness, different from waking, dreaming, and sleeping. You move beyond the body. For those of you who connect with that, and in order to do that, it's through effortless meditation. That's the quickest way to do it. After you come out of your meditation, you might just be in that space naturally, that compassionate space. And then some of you might feel that it fades. And then you meditate again, and then you find yourself coming out of the meditation and in this compassionate, cosmic, transcendental space. And then it fades. And then you meditate again. But there is a time where it doesn't fade. And that's if we just keep meditating effortlessly. There comes a time where it doesn't fade and it's always accessible to you. just like that. We might forget that it's accessible. We might forget who we truly are and connect to those other parts. And then remember, oh, no, and back up into the transcendental self. And there is a purpose to that. I had somebody write in and say that they were frustrated because they felt like they were making progress on their spiritual path, and then they'd fall back into the stress and worry and rumination, and then they would meditate and return back to their cosmic transcendental self, and then drop into the stress, and then come out into the cosmic transcendental self, and then drop back into all of the stress of their life. And they felt this whiplash of becoming expanded and then limited, expanded and then limited, expanded and then limited, and like asking me what's going on. I'm frustrated. Why can I not permanently just bliss out? And there is a wonderful thing that happens when you get that whiplash, when you go from being transcendental to feeling like you're limited. And that's empathy. We realize how people feel when they identify as something smaller than what they actually are. And in doing that, it creates humility and it creates connection with other beings. And we feel like we can relate to other human beings. Because if we were just permanently in a transcendental space, that's okay. But it's always nice to understand the mechanisms. So when you see somebody who is playing smaller than actually what they are, we can remind them of who they are, because we've been there ourselves. And so there's a real beauty in spiritual teachers that have struggled to permanently remain connected to that transcendental self, because they can be very helpful to other people in reminding them, it's okay, I know I've been there, but look, it does shift and you are this. And we are so interconnected with everybody else. If the world is de-stressing, if the world is forgetting itself, its cosmic self, we will also do so, because there's no separation. There might be some people who are pretending, oh, I'm beyond all of that. We don't know whether that's true or not. I would argue, bit of a warning sign. When you're in a body, you always have a certain amount of ignorance. You always have a certain amount of ups and downs and fluctuations and forgetting and remembering. It does settle down, but it's always helpful if it starts to happen to you and you've done a lot of meditation. It's a gift. The gift is humility, and the gift is empathy, and the gift is to remind you that we are interconnected, and whatever anybody else is feeling, you will also feel. And the more you meditate, the more you realize, oh, the planet is de-stressing. People are having a hard time. Things are exiting. And things are exiting at the minute. Nothing can hide. And we're coming up to 2026. Nothing can hide. So if there's anything that was in the physiology that needs to come out, or in society that was hidden, that needs to be seen, it will be coming out to be processed. And you can't process anything unless you see it or feel it, or it gets absorbed by the transcendental self, gets transmuted by the transcendental self. And so I pray that we all have the capacity to step into our transcendental self, the part of us that's beyond the body, beyond the mind, beyond experience and our histories. And in stepping into that transcendental space, we can transmute all of our suffering, and we can hold space, a compassionate space, the parts of ourselves that want to be seen and heard. And in doing so, we raise the vibration on the planet, and we all evolve and expand.